Good morning. Today is Saturday, September 24th, 2022. My name is Barbara With, and you are here with me and soon the Psychic Sorority, and of course, the Party of 12, which is a really amazing group of souls who are working in the afterlife for world peace, headed up by none other than Albert Einstein. So today we're going to look back on the channel from September 10th, when we were talking about intention, visualization, and then manifestation. And what I loved about that channel was how they explained that this is really the basis of having a human life, is that you intend to come in to be human, and then it's visualized in the miraculous, mysterious way the life is, and then it's manifest here in the lens of our physical world. So today they gave us a little homework last week. So I've got some great reports myself, and I'm so looking forward to seeing what the rest of the sorority has been up to as well. So welcome to the party. I've had a little bit of a throat and ear infection this week.
Me too.
Really?
Well, lungs too, lungs. Yeah.
Well, and after our conversations about German healing knowledge, where I finally, after all of this time of talking about it, understood how it came about, that he did these interviews with people, and then Louise Hay did that too. So I think that's just so curious. So I was, of course, waiting to hear what I can only imagine. It's kind of the same that Louise Hay comes up with, and I don't even think it. No, it's not.
I don't know how Louise Hay got her information actually, but
no, I mean the meaning of what this is. What would German healing knowledge say about this?
About your ear infection?
Yeah, and my sore throat, my ear infection.
What is which ear? Right
ear.
Right ear. Okay, so you didn't hear something you wanted to hear. You resolved it, and now you've got the infection.
This is so curious.
And if it's the left, you heard something you didn't want to hear. So it's different.
You heard something you didn't want to hear. You didn't hear something you wanted to hear. That's so curious.
Well, how about the lungs? Because Louise Hay says it's something about joy, feeling joy, and
that's the energetic connection that the 5 elements, the Eastern way of looking at things, is the same. Lungs are grief, actually, and heart is joy, but there are 2 different lung issues or programs or conflicts, if you will, in German healing knowledge. And the lung tissue itself is a death fright, and the bronchi, the bronchi tubes, they're a scare fright, feeling stuck potentially.
Louise says lungs are an inability to take in life. So that's
what it is.
That's kind of
yeah, well, also breathe, being able to breathe, but
yeah.
Right.
The German healing knowledge is very biologically based. The body does what it does very specifically to enhance its function or keep it functioning while you deal with your psyche conflicts.
Yeah. That is an excellent segue into what I wanted us to journey down today. And what I want to do is I want to do a follow-up from the September 10th, where they left us some homework about manifestation. First, I want to say how remarkably they illustrated that intention, visualization, and manifestation were kind of the underlying process of our very lives, of being human, that we have this human intention to come. So there's that aim and that purpose. And then the visualization, of course, is all the mathematics coming into reality. And then the manifestation directly into the lens of the physical world, the whole universe. So that gave me a new perspective of what I was going to need to do to engage in this intentional focus on intention, visualization, and manifestation. That it's just innate in us. We don't have to reinvent the fire truck. We just have to learn how to use the hose. They gave us this homework, and the first part of it was to do some meditation, setting our intention every day to intend and visualize and manifest for the good of the whole. And they gave us this choice that we could either or both spend some time just doing the general, whatever I do for the good of the whole, and then spend some time visualizing some very specific things and then pay attention to that. And the example that they gave was that they had worked with me through the years to really pay attention to what I was manifesting. And I believe that came from the fact that ever since I was a kid, I visualized myself literally being a rock star, winning a Grammy, having lunch with the boss, all of these specific things that I thought were going to be the manifestation of me becoming a rock star. And even a reading I had, my first reading with Eunice in 1972, she talked about me traveling the world and influencing people, inspiring people. And that played into the visions I had as a kid. And the dream I had was always that I was General MacArthur's daughter. And they were dropping me in behind the lines to do this incredible version of Impossible Dream, where all the soldiers are uplifted and I help bring world peace. So when I actually left on the road when I was 17 and started performing all of these original songs I had already written by that time, that's what I clung to. That was the vision. And unless it wasn't that, if I wasn't getting that Grammy or having lunch with the boss, it wasn't working. It was never enough. So yeah, I won awards. They weren't enough. Yeah, I had bands. I was playing concerts, headlining concerts at college. Never enough, because it wasn't that. So I was very glad this week to have that muscle memory in my body that, wow, that's what I used to do. That's what I used to do. I spent some time doing just for the good of the whole. Like I would wake up and go, just today, whatever I'm thrown at today in my actual immediate world, help me make decisions for the good of the whole. And then I went back to my vision that I had as a kid of being a rock star, winning a Grammy. And then of course, the added dream I have of bringing all of this to the scientists. And then I let it go. And so I started to, and I really did pay attention. And it's like every day there was just some phenomenal thing that happened if you look at it as an incredible baby step. And there's so many things. I hope I can remember them all, but one of them had to do with, again, the church conflict. And not only did a few more people who really didn't like me much come back, but I got an email from one of them just for no reason, just thank you so much for blah, blah, blah. And I was thinking back to what you had said, Joanne, about these people were ready. They wanted my friendship back. They were smiling and eager and happy to have me back. And I think it hit me that day when I saw Sue at the food truck. It was like, you were really right. They really love me and they want me back in their life. And that was something I couldn't hear. I couldn't hear it. So it's just so interesting. Oh, this happened.
Your book?
The actual hardcover of the book, which is beautifully in full color. And I'm so excited. I've been selling them already.
Good.
So that is the culmination of decades and so many people. Yeah. It's just phenomenal. And it's the start. It's like this another gigantic baby step, right? And then into my email came an invitation to enter the America's Next Great Author contest. And I had like 2 or 3 days to do this pretty specific application to be a part of this. It had to be fiction. And so I don't have any fiction except for the movies that I wrote back in 1998 when I had an agent and she was inspiring me to write all these movie treatments and she was shopping them. And one of them that she inspired me to do this movie treatment about real life people I worked with as a psychic, Dorothea and Nick. And Nick was 33 years old, never spoke a word. He was autistic. And his mom hired me to sit between them and channel for them. Wow. And after a while, she realized through this work that she had, yes, it really was him that she was hearing. And so I wrote this movie called Gravity. And it's a treatment, which is like 25 pages of what the movie would be. I also wrote the screenplay. And then I put together 10 original songs, very emotionally potent songs for the soundtrack. And the next step would have been to write the book. So I dug that all out and started editing. And then I had to study how to do the pitch. And you had 75 seconds to do a video to say all this stuff. And so I crammed it all in and I got it all in. And by doing that process, that dream as a kid activated. It's like, wow, I don't know if this is going to be the avenue. It doesn't matter to me. It's just the first step of manifesting these avenues wherein I could truly feel my song winning a Grammy. So that was like a super huge baby step, because it activated in me that body feeling of vision of I see it, I feel it, I am it. And that in turn activated something to do with my 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old who used to have those visions. So it was like this big wormhole, and it was like, oh, okay. And then I realized it doesn't matter if it's this or that. This is where I'm going. And then one of my new best friends met a music producer who lives in Maui. And I played her some of my music and we wept. And she's like, we got to get this to him. We got to get it. So here we go with the manifestations of now I can hear. Now I can hear inside. I can be in the moment, not attached to the future, for the good of the whole. And that's what I was missing when I was that youth who went off to be a rock star. It wasn't for the good of the whole. I would have died if I would have succeeded. I would have been a drug addict or something would have happened to me.
Wow.
And so that was just a big bonanza of a week. Whenever I can get body verification of long-term visions, I don't worry about much of anything.
I just want to say that's huge, Barbara, and you're such an inspiration to us. You're the model for us. And you know, you mentioned the wormhole, and what came to me is there really is no time. You know, it's all happening right now. So, you know, what your intention was as a 5-year-old, it seems like it's taken a while, but it was always in the manifestation, and now you're just experiencing it. You're experiencing it.
I know.
Congratulations for everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow.
I would call those giant steps, not big steps.
It's only been a week.
And what a good point for being for the good of the whole. You know, you were mentioning the lottery tickets before in your email, and you know, because it came out of the ego, and yeah, we've been running on ego forever because this is the way we've been raised and kept safe. But yeah, for the good of the whole is I think major key.
And that lottery piece she was referring to was back when I first started working with Kim and Teresa. I was really in between the worlds, and I woke up, I heard this voice, we're going to give you the winning lottery tickets. And I very clearly, these numbers, I woke up one morning, very clear. So I went to the girls and we did this reading where they directed us to which gas station we should go to buy how many lottery tickets. And it made this triangle between New Hope, these were the cities, New Hope, Golden Valley, and Crystal. And so, and it had to have $2 bills. You had to use $2 bills. And we had another little triad we were working with, 6 of us in Kim's van driving by these lottery tickets, had a big party, invited a bunch of people for when they announced not one number, not one number. And it was very clear to me immediately what a part of it was for me about ego. But they said later, we were programming information into stuff that you have no idea what we were doing. That's why we had you do these, places. We sent you to the blah. And we never forgot that. What I told Debbie was, I had this hit this week too. I guess this would be a manifestation. How artificial intelligence is, it can be pretty scary. I've been watching some scary videos this week about a lot of different things. Oddly enough, I'm not scared, but they're scary. But I heard Einstein say, well, that's why if we get conflict resolution up and people change their operating systems, then that's going to affect any of that happens, and into a way that probably the people who are programming it don't anticipate and can't address. I can't begin to profess to know what any of that means, but it made sense to me that, wow, if they're going to be uploading humans into human 2.0.
What it brings to mind for me, Barbara, is it's been a number of years now, at least a decade. HeartMath started teaching their methodology at the military officers level. And the first time I heard that, I did a, kind of a head shake. But then when I sat with it, I thought, how perfect. If for them to get in and open the hearts of the military officers, that's a step in the right direction to be able to bring forth a more clear empathy and for the whole and so on. I didn't find the actual intention of the military anywhere, but just merely that this was something that HeartMath was starting to do. And I presume they're still continuing, that there was some value they brought to the military and that the military agreed to bring.
Who is
in.
HeartMath? I don't understand.
Oh my. HeartMath it's the heart resonance, and they have towers all over the planet, and they can read the resonance of the heart, whether there's a wonderful thing happening, huge, or something, a disaster. Oh, you'll have to look it up.
Okay, I will.
Dr. Childer.
Did anybody else do any homework? Am I the only overachiever in the crowd?
When I walk, I do my prayer work, my intention setting, my declarations and so on. So I was doing it then when I remembered, and it wasn't every day. My intention was to draw to me someone or someones who are going to help me purge all of these things I've manifested that I don't need. To get me going, kind of, and keep me going, I guess. But so far, nobody has shown up. So I'll keep at it.
I've been trying to work on letting go of frustration and anger. It's not easy. And it seems like right now there's more of it coming up for me than I've had in a while. So, and like Joanne, I've some mornings I wake up and I remember to set this intention, and other times I do a lot of that and a lot of self-talk and talking to I guess just the universe, anybody who's listening, when I'm on my walks as well. But I am finding that I'm becoming very aware of when I'm frustrated and getting upset with somebody and not having patience, but haven't quite figured out how to not happen. And I need to remember that I'm part of the good of the whole. When I always say for the good of the whole, or for the highest good, that includes me. I've been struggling a little bit this week, and I've had some tummy issues and some mucus issues. So I think when these things are happening. We are releasing. I mean, there's obviously things we're releasing. And I don't know this German medicine thing, but I'm getting very interested.
You might benefit from just revisiting the channel from September 3rd. That was just a whole kick-ass session that with the dark retreats and everyone remembering they're going into the dark when we all went into the dark. And then the channel was really, really excellent. And what it left me feeling was that the frustration and the anger is just this part of this beautiful, incredible human drama. Rather than I'm trying to get rid of it. It's like, oh, I have to notice it. And just like you, and we've done this before together, where I noticed this aspect of me this week who was just pissed off. And like you said, you know, whoever you're talking to, and this time I watched her. And I just watched her because it was mostly around my house, right? I wasn't out in public raging, but I thought, yeah, you know, those things are really the things that you're doing this about. Those really can piss you off when the planet's going to hell and people are just brainwashed and all that stuff. That really is emotional. Kind of letting her be. Then when I actually got in a situation where I was triggered and I had to face someone who was brainwashed and thinking that Donald Trump is Hitler, you know, we're going into this, how can the Republican, you know, this whole stuff, I was able to, because I let her go, I was able to step back and go, okay, what's the best for the good of the whole here? It was a coalition meeting, so I didn't want to, you know, she put it out to like the whole group. We can't trust the Republicans. Blah, blah, blah. So to this woman, I have to admit some of that pain, that anger and passion got put into that email, but it was listing her information that she could then look at if she wanted to. It wasn't an attack on her, even though I'm sure that might feel like that to her. But to the whole group, I was able to just say, hey, let's not go down this path. And to me, that was another manifestation of the week. And it really showed me that I don't think getting rid of it is what we're supposed to be doing. But yeah, channeling it in different ways.
Transmuting it, Barbara, like we need to is that what you're trying to tell me? Transmute it into something else?
Well, that, and when we start to separate the intellect and the emotion. So as I was watching this girl walk around the house, you know, pointing your fingers, getting all uppity and letting her go without much care about what she was saying, I just started to really feel and breathe it, like that harvesting. It's like this part of me was like, okay, let's harvest this. Always, whatever the intellectual messages are your clues for you or my clues for me. And if they're brainwashed or they're not, you know, they're not treating me with respect, then I have to double down on my own respectful behavior. And that's hard. That's what's hard to the ego. Yeah, but they're, you know,
that was something I kept saying, is that if I'm not feeling respected, possibly I'm not giving respect.
That is the formula for all of us. I mean, if that's it, then that's what I need to start looking at in myself. And I think a lot of it is because I've done this for so long with conflict resolution, is it's almost like an art. It's not like this hard, fast, you know, compartmentalized thing. It's like, what does that mean? Are you not respecting yourself? Are you not respecting someone else? Because that girl I had, she wasn't respecting those people either. And then when I wrote that answer, like I could respond in clarity, many people supported me. That's what I love about conflict resolution. It's so, am I not respecting myself? Where am I not respecting myself? Saying yes when my intuition says no. Maybe you need my new book.
Well, I have to say, I'll even read you these quick notes I did. It's almost Lynda's words verbatim, and her experience. What changed is my responses to things. Where before I was frustrated and angry, I'm now more patient and and at peace. But I go into the I amness. So, for example, last night there was a band right across the lake, a very loud band and a very angry band, and they were riling up the people. It was just horrible energy. Now, normally I would be totally frustrated, totally angry, and just, not able to sleep and just really having a bad time of it. But I got into the I am peace, I am love. And I even sang the song, What the World Needs Now. Tried to sing as louder than them. I just know that being in that I amness just changes. And I'm not kidding. They settled down. I don't know if the police made them settle down or what, but they all of a sudden started singing, instead of shouting, a nicer song. And then they quit not too long after that. And what the best part was, I didn't make my body sick with anger and frustration. I totally surprised myself that I've just used it as a time for meditation. Okay, well, I'm up longer tonight. I'll meditate longer tonight. And so, yeah, I totally relate to that feeling, transforming that frustration and anger into more of a peace, but being in that I amness, that I think that's what's key for me is what is manifesting. Lynn, how about you?
I've been continuing with some work challenges and the separation from a job and the fallout from that. Now, is anybody familiar with Ho'oponopono?
Yes, we've done stuff on it.
Great. So I've been in a Ho'oponopono phase, and for all concerned and all involved. And that has been serving me really well. And it has actually transmuted, it was a word somebody else used, a number of things that could have become hugely anxious provoking for me. And I'm just always amazed when I remember to use that methodology, the benefits from it. And manifestation wise, I didn't follow the exercise. I didn't do that, but I'll go back. There have been many moments in this journey in which what I wanted, what I needed, what I thought would support my cause becomes unavailable from all the sources where it ought to be available. And then it becomes available from a source I never thought of. And so it's been this journey that's a delight when I just sit with it and allow it to unfold. So, and I guess that puts me in the mode of, by virtue of not assigning anything to anything, things are manifesting to the benefit of the whole, which is what I'm, focused on. Thank you.
Yes. And the good of the whole has to begin with the good of us. It's really self-love. All that stuff, when we can channel our frustration and anger into creative solutions, and we have that power. And think if everybody did it. That's what gets me going, is that if more and more people can do this, be responsible for this inner world and this inner life and how they direct that fire hose and intentionally committed to the good of the whole, that's what we're programming into the human 201 or 200 or whatever they call it.
2.0.
2.0, that's it.
A lot of people are doing this work from, with different names, from different angles. A lot of that is out there. And they've said that too during the channels over time. You know, not everyone's doing it exactly this way, but the intention is the same, and the idea to unify things rather than separate people, and the bigger understanding of how we're all connected. So yeah, this is a really good map, easily understood, in my opinion.
To know that there's all these methodologies that have been in play for a long time, and we as a small group represent that, the synergy within us, just these 5 unlimited human potential human beings. It's stunning to me sometimes when I think about what we're doing here and how much knowledge we have and how much knowledge between the 5 of us we share from years and years and years of those things. There simply has to be millions and millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
Like us.
Mm-hmm. A lot of women.
It's the women
leading the way. Yeah.
Women leading the way. Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, let's get to our channel. Let's settle in and take some deep breaths. And relax. Relax into the I am of you. Feel the boundaries of your skin, separating your inner non-physical world from the outer physical world. Your skin is the organ that determines the boundaries between the physical and the non-physical. And it's true, when you go to the doctor and they look inside, they see organs that are in the physical world. But when you look at yourself from the inside out, you see a different view. So we will command that only the most divine light shine down upon you at this time, and that the greatest good always be present here. We want to take you on just a short little ride. So buckle up into your one-person spaceship, your little pod, your compilation of your consciousness, and feel yourselves resting in the source. Feel yourselves all together in the center of the planet. Your spirit, your mathematics, your potentials, your intention, and the peace of God that fuels you. And we're going to kick you out of the source, and together, like you're on some kind of modern day amusement park ride where you're 5 across and you're going over incredible high peaks and straight down into the valleys. We're going to push you onto that wave. And that very act of stepping out of that source in the center of the earth and onto the wave, you've started to create physical world. And you're now in the first human dimension of emotion, that primordial soup where all of you are just potential particles waiting to come together and separate when you get to the lens. But while you're here, you are not whole or organized. You're much more mathematics, but you have a boundary. And all of the particles that are going to eventually pull together to be you in the lens are the same. But they're scattered hither and yon all through this primordial soup, still communicating with each other. And as you move forward up this wave into the intuition, suddenly sound is born, and the voice of God can be heard. And what that voice is saying is, come here, all you particles that are going to be Barbara. Come here, all these particles that are going to be Debbie and the world that you live in. Come here, all those particles that are going to be Lynne and the lens that you're going to experience. And go forth to the next step. And then you move into the intellect. And as we have talked about ad infinitum, this is the most complicated part of the entire system. It is a cacophony of descriptions, definitions, perceptions, visualizations, from subatomic to human range to superconscious. And as that wave is working its way towards the surface of the planet, all of that mysterious mathematical math is organizing itself to present you in your body. Your skin is a defining boundary between physical and non-physical. It is the organ that receives and transmits the data, that projects that data onto the inside curvature of your lens, and then projects it back to your senses to pick up and perceive and organize. What a miraculous system this is it not? Humans are not able to replicate this operating system. You have an inside perspective. And that's what we want to inspire you to do this week, is to intentionally take that inner perspective of coming up that wave and the creation of your human body and how that works mysteriously and miraculously. All of this mathematics creating particles that pull together that then get to be you. In this puzzle of how this all works together is the piece we call free will. And that is something that when you get a handle on it, when you understand what the power of your free will actually means to you, then you change your world. When you change your decisions, you change your mind about how you're going to deal with your feelings, you change your perspective to listen inward to your intuition emanating out of your heart center, then you change everything that manifests in the lens. Now, none of you have had the intention or the passion to change the world in a way that you will shapeshift, let's say. But that can be done. It takes a much different degree of your conscious relationship to the physical world and how you're going to change that in the subatomic parts of your being. But it can be done. But we're not interested in that at this point. It is part of how the water turned to wine, but for another day, we'll have that discussion. Now, we want you just to think about what that change within yourself means, to continue on a daily basis to have this awareness. And that's part of the change that you're doing. Think about 20 years ago, you just rage around with stories about somebody and what they did to you and how victimized you were. And then you would create dramas outside yourself to work off that energy and project that trap of victimization mentality. Now you walk around and you observe yourself going through a period of frustration. And you observe yourself going through periods of sadness or anger, and you deal with them differently. And the more that you can implement the mirror, the more you will eventually free yourself from the victimization that perspective brings you. And when we say that perspective, it's the victimization perspective. So that's what you're changing. And every time you now, today, tomorrow, experience that old aspect or that aspect, we won't even say old, because if it's there, it's there. And the more that you can love that aspect, really accept it and listen, really listen to what that emotion might intuitively tell you. Part of what we've tried to teach you is that when emotion comes up and intuition is going to tell you something, that this is conflict resolution. If you're angry that someone isn't respecting you, when you change your position and change your focus, your perspective, instead of spending time trying to repress the emotion or trying to feel badly that you feel it, so you're going to stop feeling it, or to pretend that you don't feel it or to project it, when you switch and you capture that emotion and you change your thoughts, you become someone who looks at the world from the inside out. And you want to own all those feelings, and you want to own all those thoughts. You want to find out where you're not respecting yourself, because that anger and that frustration is part of the voice of intuition telling you what to do about that. As Barbara had related in her story, that by loving that part of herself and accepting it, understanding in that moment at the same time that it's happening, that this is a special gift and that it's going to bring insight and liberation. And let's see and feel and breathe. And then when the moment came where the very person she was imagining she was raging at stepped forward in physical form to do just that. And she did not respond like she did in the morning when she was observing that. Partly because when she was observing it, she was saying to herself, nope, that's not how I want to respond. I respect the anger. I breathe the frustration, but that is not how I'm going to choose to respond to that. And because of that, when the time came, it was second nature. It was already set up. The intention was there. The visioning was there. And then the manifestation of it happened. And we'll say that that woman was influenced by that. She may have felt feelings that were uncomfortable, but you can't untell the truth. You can't unsee those words that were given to her that she didn't want to see. So again, appreciating that baby step, appreciating all of these baby steps as such an important part of the process, and celebrating them, celebrating the little things. Celebrate even the fact that you took the time to set an intention and visualize a manifestation, even if it hasn't come to be yet. Celebrate that. Celebrate the I am of who you are, and fill in the blanks with all kinds of beautiful, uplifting, inspiring, truthful, unifying thoughts from the superconscious. It's there. Sometimes you can't hear it through the cacophony of the human range of hearing that wants to tell you that you're not good enough, or that those people across the lake are somehow bad. This is such revolutionary work. And we are so proud of you. And we're proud of everyone around the planet who is changing and turning their way to the good of the whole. And don't be fooled by what happens in that lens of that external world. You must think of it as the same ideas that German healing knowledge has taught you, is that when you're in the symptoms, when you're in the actual manifestation of the conflict. It's in its healing phase. So the past 2 years, so many people have changed so deeply and so quickly. It takes some people time to catch up, but luckily you have been specially trained, you volunteered and you were chosen to come and help bring this movement forward into this new humanity. And it's a thrill for us to be here with you every week. So we would like to open for any questions or conversation.
Hi, Jojo here. Yay on the German healing knowledge. Really good. When you were talking about the victim stance that we all get ourselves into, I remembered some work I did or study with Carolyn Mace's work, M-Y-S-S, I think you say it Mace, that's how she says it, about saying that we all come in with the same 4 archetypes. We all share 4 archetypes. And then we have our other ones that our own individual group of archetypes that we want to work with in any given lifetime. So the 4 that we all share are the victim, the perpetrator, the child, and the prostitute. And prostitute doesn't have to have the, the physical meaning. It's when we prostitute ourselves in terms of saying yes when we mean no, saying no when we mean yes, just not being true to ourselves. So when I feel like I'm in a victim mode, I think, okay, there's that one rearing its head again. How do I deal with that? And then I also try to figure out when I'm in the perpetrator mode, trying to make other people feel like victims or trying to manipulate maybe, and I was called on that once by my son, Jeff, when he was about 5 or 6. I'd been teaching in the children's church and teaching them to not give away their power, as it were. And I said something to him at home later on about, he said, "You're trying to make me feel guilty and I'm not going to let you do that." So I thought, yay, right back at me. Anyway, just an observation or, what your words evoked for me, because I think trying to not be a victim is probably impossible. That feeling like a victim is part of the whole experience, but that you don't want to stay there. You don't want to come from that place any longer than you have to. And the same with all the other archetypes, and to try and figure out which ones you are working with is interesting as well. Maybe you have the maiden in distress archetype. I've known some gals like that, or you have the rock star archetype maybe.
Yes. And when you take the metaphorical details of each of the archetype, then you can find out what that actual need is for that person to, rather than victimize themselves, which means you don't get your needs fulfilled. The interesting thing about the victim is that it is an inseparable relationship between victim and perpetrator as far as yourself. So a human who is in that victim mode is their own perpetrator. The child and the prostitute are byproducts of that condition of saying that somebody else has control of your feelings, somebody else is making you feel this way, is doing these things to you. That's perpetrating yourself right out of your power stance. And then you become a child and you end up prostituting yourself because you don't think you have the power. You have to give it away in order to get what you want. And this is what this whole work that we're doing really reconstructs.
Yes, and it's great. The other thing you said was that we can't replicate ourselves. We can't, except we can have children. So we replicate the human form, but of course they're their own individual. They're their own self. You can't clone yourself, I don't think.
Yes.
That is such a miraculous process, of course, having children. And grandchildren are even more miraculous.
Thank you for your message. When being on the ride with you that you put us through just now, when we're in the observer, you had previously talked about the 3 dimensions, the observer being in the lens and being in the source. And when being in the observer from the parameter, seeing the journey, using, for example, if we were feeling frustration, to input data desired there in the source that will help to manifest what it is you really want. And so I was just wondering if you could just speak of that a little bit, just to reinforce that for me, and whether that incorporates the intellect to be aware of that and to input that data when being in that source energy. So, for example, when, like you mentioned, I don't want to respond in anger, input data that we do want to experience.
Well, first of all, let's go back to the observer. And to do that, we want all of you to imagine that you're out in the heavens and you're looking down at the planet Earth. And you see the continents and the oceans. You can sort of see where you live. You might be able to see the Great Lakes, but you don't see your house and your car. And so to understand the power of the observer is to understand the power of being able to get such a big view, the long view, that you transcend the lens itself, except for the picture of the earth. You don't see any of the details in that sense. And in that way, the part of you that's out here in the heavens observing the earth, you can look down to where you live, where you're sitting right now, from that sense, and you can imagine that you're there. You can also imagine the center of the earth. And if you're looking at the earth from out here in the heavens and you see all the continents and the water, you can't see the center of the earth. If you're just going to look at it as a particle, a compilation of human consciousness, you might be able to observe the center of the earth. But the point we're making is that this human intention, that's the human intention, is the mechanism that allows you to have the human experience in general and in the big macrocosm. When you leave the source and you go up the wave through emotion, intuition, into that intellect, going through free will, and then bursting out into that lens that gives you that, those 3 human dimensions are the ones that you use to reprogram the source. So if you're not conscientious and you're not aware, like we've been training you to do, and you're just going through life reacting as a victim, all of that, how your emotions are dealt with, if you listen to your intuition, what's going on in your intellect, all of that gets programmed into the source. So for years and years and years, more years than we can say, that's how humans have been living. That's what's been programmed into the source. That's why you are at where you are today, healing that, seeing the conflicts and healing it. So it's absolutely dependent upon the intellect, intuition, emotion, their relationship to each other, how you reprogram the source. Because when you do that and you become whole and you use the witness, that is actually a function of your intellect and not that observer way, way, way out into the heavens that's giving the big, broader picture. The witness becomes a cultivated perspective that gives you the power to align those 3 human dimensions to compassion. And then that is the reprogramming of the center of the earth and DNA and such.
Oh, thank you for that clarification. That is so helpful.
Yes. We're going to close the channel with one more huge expression of our gratitude. What you're doing here is so phenomenal. And we want to say that this plan that we had to bring you together as much as we could in 2022 has paid off more than we could have imagined. Because this year is a baby step into a much more articulated world that you're going to be moving into. And when we say that, we mean that you who have been taking the time to master your own inner life, you are creating that reprogrammed earth that cannot fail. So when you see the conflicts, keep your center, keep that view from the observer, keep your heart open, feeling and breathing your emotions, revolving your intellect, recreating an intellect that's based on the superconscious, fully, deeply, richly. Then just keep watching and keep being amazed. Namaste.